welcome. Thanks for joining us. My name is Yvonne. We're here at the Blue Lotus Yoga Studio in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'd like to share with you a sequence to access the hips, the hamstrings, the inner thighs, and the quad and hip flexors. So the first pose that we're going to start in is called dragon. And it's basically a low lunge. So before we get started, let me just speak to this. The reason why the yin poses are named differently than what you know from traditional yoga is that helps us to access the poses without the awareness that we have or the repetitive information that we get. So we're going to come into dragon pose. What you'll do is you're going to step forward with your right foot. And I'm going to show you a couple of different variations and I'll explain why we're doing them differently. You can start with the hands framing out the thigh. You can have the hands inside of the leg. You can allow the legs to be completely still, or if it feels intuitive, the right knee can drop out to the side. So in other words, what we're doing is we're bringing the body into a shape and we're allowing the bones to fall apart. So we're working in the tendons and ligaments, the soft tissue in the body. So the muscles are stimulated, but we're really trying to target the connective tissue. We live in a very fast-paced, yang world, and so we're trying to get into that place of surrender. So you'll see that we have the hands framed out of the thigh, which creates a little more stimulation in the leg that's behind you. You can also bring your hands up on a block if the floor feels really far away, and that's a great modification. You can use various levels of the block. If you're at home and you don't have a block, you can use anything that helps prop your hands up. You can roll a couple of blankets or towels underneath of your hands. You'll notice that I don't speak much about alignment in this practice because it's really important to listen to your body and allow the body to open. So whereas I say, please to have your knee over your heel, that's a starting point. So again, if the bones start to open and the muscles and the tendons start to become more available, the leg will fall out and you won't have that alignment, and that's okay. That's what we're working towards, is just being in the shape and letting the body kind of guide you to where you need to be. Another variation that you can also take is to place the bolster underneath of the thigh. So that will help alleviate the tugging on the top of the thigh and hip flexor of the leg that's behind you. One of the tenets of the yin practice is to come to an appropriate edge, so that you would want to choose a place that is interesting and curious, but not so intense that you're already wondering if it's time to come out of the shape. And this type of muscle, this type of tissue needs to be held for a while so that we can actually stimulate the plasticity of the tendons and ligaments. And then we'll transition to the next shape. So you'll pick the hips up on the next breath in and begin to slide the right foot over towards the left. If you have any kind of knee tenderness, then you'll flip over onto your back and you'll take this pose on your back to alleviate any tugging in that knee or any compression in the knee, also any tenderness in the lower back. It's a great modification. And then you'll come forward over that right leg. And again, allow the body to surrender. Allow gravity to do the work of pulling you into the shape. So here we are in swan pose. Some of you know this pose as pigeon, but again, remember, we're coming into this with a different interest to stimulate the tendons and ligaments. And so you can use a bolster underneath of that right hip, or a blanket or a block, whatever you have available at home, to help prop that hip up so that you can come to that place of stimulation that's a 4 or a 5. It's manageable for a while, for several minutes. We're starting here today in about 1 minute to 1.5 minutes in each shape. You can work up towards 5 minutes. So I like to use a timer to help keep track of where you are, because what will happen is, as this becomes intense, it's really nice to be held accountable, have a timer. You can put it off to the side, you don't have to worry about it, and then just stay for a while. So let's take a breath in here. And exhale completely. We're going to come out of the shape very slowly and mindfully as we came into it. So allow your hands to press under the shoulders, and you'll lift the upper body and slowly come up. And then slide the left leg forward so that you'll sit on your hips. And allow your hands to come behind you so that you'll take the weight out of the hips and pause and be still. So it's really important to pause between sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you to either rewind this video, if you remember the poses, to take these same poses on the left side. So you'll take dragon pose, low lunge first for a minute and a half, and then transition into swan for a minute and a half, so that you can experience the same stimulation on the other side. Thank you for joining us. Namaste.